Lord Krishna.
Tulsi is.
Yeah. Actually, the very name Tulsi means, Tula means like to compare, to equate something. You know this balance by which you weigh, that is called Tula.
Tula.
You know that?
Yes.
So why is it called Tula? Because when you have to balance, this has to be equal to this.
Yes.
Right? You take a weight which is half kg, then you have to put a product which is also. Then you say that these two are equal.
Right.
And that's why this thing balance is called Tula.
Tula. Right.
The word Tulsi comes from the same. Means this Tulsi, there is no one who is equal to her.
Right. And then what does the C, Tula, C, what's the root of C?
That is a suffix.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Sanskrit there are dhatu.
Right.
There are roots.
Right. Yes.
And then you apply suffixes on that to make noun.
Right.
So there is a Tula dhatu which means to weigh. Tolna, like they say Tolya.
Tula, yeah.
So it's actually the root Tula.
Right.
And from that you make the noun Tulasi.
And so C, doesn't C mean a line?
Mm-hmm.
C, the SI can mean when something is straight.
Yeah, that also you can make. Really the noun is made because you have the root.
Right.
Main important thing is the root.
Right.
Then we apply suffixes to make nouns.
Right.
In Sanskrit, all the words, they are coming from the roots. There are 2,000 roots. And there are hundreds and hundreds of suffixes which you apply on the roots to make nouns.
Yes.
Therefore, every word in Sanskrit has a meaning.
Right.
There is no word in Sanskrit which is meaningless.
Of course.
Like in other languages you have words, but if you ask what does it mean?
I know.
And there's no meaning.
Even people's names.
Yeah.
Like, you know, here everybody's name has such a beautiful meaning.
Yeah, it has a meaning because they're all coming from these roots.
Right.
So therefore Tulsi means incomparable.
Right. Acha. Incomparable. Right.
So she is very devoted to Krishna.
Right.
And for that reason, whenever we offer anything to Krishna, then Tulsi has to be there on the offering.
Right.
Otherwise Krishna does not accept it.
Acha.
Because even if I offer to him, and he may not like what I am offering, but if Tulsi is there, then he is interested in that because he is so much in love with Tulsi.
Right.
So for that reason, whenever we make any offering, then Tulsi is offered there. We put his neck beads around us.
Right.
Because he is so devoted. And we have Japamala.
Japa, yes.
Chant on Tulsi.
Acha, yes.
So Tulsi is very, very dear, and for that reason this whole place is called Vrindhavan, because Vrinda is another name for Tulsi.
The forest of Tulsi.
Yes.
Yes. And so...
And you're saying that she is one of the eight...
principal queens of Krishna in Dwarka is Vrinda Devi.
Acha. Acha. Not just Radha.
Yeah, Radha is there, here, but Tulsi is there in the queen and here also.
Acha.
She exists in both places.
Radha was only in Vrindavan.
Radha was not in Dwarka.
Yeah, right.
But Tulsi is there here and there both.
Acha.
She was in Vrindavan as well as in...
Who are the other 7?
Well, there is Satyabhama, Jambavati, Kalindi.
Acha. Right. These queens. Yes, very good. And so...
So I think the question was that should it be taken or why?
So we Vaishnavas, we offer Tulsi to God and then only we can accept that.
Right.
We don't use it for our purpose directly. Because she is considered as a very dear person to Krishna.
Right.
So if we offer to him, and then we can accept the remnants, prasad of Krishna.
Right. So in Ayurveda, Tulsi's very famous for managing and optimizing Agni.
Yes.
This Agni, noontime, all the Agnis in the body. So how does that relate to, how does that function relate to Tulsi the person?
Well, in Vedic culture, because we have, you see the same word is used at different level. And we have 3 levels, Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik and Adhyatmik.
Hanji.
So Adi Bhautik is something which you feel yourself.
Right.
Like we have Yamuna river.
Hanji.
So this is the Adi Bhautik river. And And then there is Adhidavik, there is a presiding deity of
Right.
river Yamuna,
Right.
who is also the daughter of sun god.
Right. Sister of Yama.
Sister of Yamaraj, and she is married to Krishna also.
Acha,
She is
yes.
also one of the queens. And then there is Adhyatmik. Ultimately, she is a manifestation of Krishna himself.
Right.
Because everything is a manifestation of Krishna.
Right.
So that is the Adhyatmik.
Hanji.
So similarly, we have this Adhibhautik plant.
Adhibhautik,
And then
yes.
there is personality behind it.
Right.
And then there is the Adhyatmik.
Yeah. Adhibhautik. Krishna.
So Adhidavik and Adhyatmik is not visible to us.
Right.
But Adhibhautik is available. So through Adhibhautik we go to Adhidavik and Adhyatmik.
Right.
This is the system in India.
Yes.
That you go from gross to subtle to the spiritual.
Right. So one of the ways when I see, like, in the West, Tulsi is known, as far as medicine, as an adaptogen. It helps you stay balanced, mentally balanced, you know, all aspects of your physiology. So it's interesting that her name
Is balancing.
means balance.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Very good.
And it's also said sometimes that we should not eat tulsi.
Yeah, that is, some people say, because the reason is that it has very strong chemical and it can damage the teeth.
Yeah, just because it's not good for the teeth if you eat it. So you should
Right.
chew it, huh?
No,
Acha.
Just swallow.
no, you can chew it.
Yes.
But from that point of view, it is good.
But there is no such. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, it's like it's a sin to eat."
You see, in
tulsi."
India, when you want to tell people to do certain thing,
Right.
then one thing is that you explain the reason.
Right.
Other is that you bring it to sin and piety.
Right.
If you do this, if you give water to
Yeah.
Tulsi, it is piety.
Right.
So that is the way to protect Tulsi plant.
Yes.
Otherwise it will disappear from earth and
Right.
it is very important.
It's
plant.
very important.
So then you make it a religious thing.
Right.
And everybody does that,
Yeah.
although they don't know why they're doing
Yeah.
it.
So I think one of the things you want to introduce in your company is that when they pick up tulsi, then just offer it to Krishna and then pack it.
Right.
Then it
Yeah,
will
there is a
be-
mantra for that.
And what is that mantra?
Mantra is that Tulsi Tvam Amrit Janmasi Tvam Sada Kesav Priya Keshwartham Chinomi Tvam Varada Bhavashobha.
And
which means-
traditionally you give a mantra 3 times.
Yes.
Door.
Again.
Tulsi Tvam Amrit Janmasi Tvam Sada Kesav Priya Keshwartham Chinomi Tvam Varada Bhavashobha. Tulsi Tvam Amrit Janmasi Tvam Sada Kesav Priya Keshwartham Chinomi Tvam Varada Bhavashobha.
So meaning
That you are born from Amrita nectar. Tulsi Tvam Amrita Janmasi. Tvam Sada Keshav Priya. You are always very dear to Lord Keshava, Krishna. Keshwartham Chinomi Tvam. I am picking you for the service of Krishna. Varada Bhavasobhini. Please be gracious to me, O beautiful Tulsi.
so that's a wonderful thing. When they pick up, they just speak this mantra.
Right.
That I am picking you for doing Krishna's service, which is
Right.
making
Right.
people healthy.
Yes.
always.
Right. So
Then it
And
becomes
then
prasad.
there is another one
Yeah.
which to ask for forgiveness. Shainodbhav dukkham che yad hridita vartate tat shamasya jaganmate Vrinda Devi namastate. That while picking your leaves, because she is a person, and we know that plants also have life, and she is a very special plant.
Right.
So while picking you up, if I am causing pain to your heart,
Please
so
forgive.
you please forgive me that. So, Tat Samasya Jagan Mata Vrinda Devi Namastate. I pay my obeisances to her.
That's okay. Very good. You know, Brahma brings in creation, Vishnu sustains, and then Shiva is considered the destroyer.
And highlights.
So, Tulsi is Vishnu Priya,
Yes.
the beloved of Vishnu.
So therefore she maintains.
She maintains, she sustains. She's, yes. And,
So this is the reason that in India the tradition was to worship Tulsi. Every house used to have Tulsi.
Right. because it's so good for
good for everything.
for
the
person-
purification of the atmosphere,
yeah,
for even the fragrance,
right,
of course, consuming it.
right. How does it purify the atmosphere? Or
Well,
what's it?
It releases
Some, like, there's a volatile oil.
Oils?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I was reading somewhere, I think it destroys the bacteria,
right.
just the fragrance.
antiseptic.
Right.
Antiseptic.
It has antiseptic qualities.
Yes, yes, for sure.
So that's why it keeps your room like antibacterial, antiviral.
Right.
And it's natural. There's no
Right.
chemical in this.
Yes. And so when you do the puja, when I read the Puranas and all the Vaishnava Puranas, like 80 or 90% of the time when an herb is mentioned, it's Tulsi. And maybe 5 or 6% of the time it's Chandan. So it just makes me wonder, when you do puja to Tulsi, what herb are you using for the agarbatti?
Well, now people use agarbatti, but what we use is, personally, we use this dhoop, which is
Dhoop.
made from cow dung.
Acha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it is all natural.
Right.
There's no chemical in it.
No,
Or
no.
ghee lamp.
A
It
ghee
also-
lamp.
Is there, so it's all
Right.
natural. So we have this cow dung and
Yes.
aguru.
Right,
Agar.
right. And this must be
And this is Sri Jiva Goswami.
right, and that's Tulsi? You think that's Tulsi behind him?
That I don't think so.
Maybe that's just flowers.
So this is the person on whose name we have made Jiva Institute.
Yes. Yes.
He was
excellent.
living here in Vrindhavan about
Right.
500 years ago.
Mhm.
And he wrote many books. I'm working on his books from
Acha.
Sanskrit to English and writing commentaries.
Acha. Nice. Very good. I've read as much as I can in the Puranas, but I'll ask you that later. Babaji, आपके नाम?
मेरा नाम है सत्य नारायण दास.
अच्छा. Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Oh yeah.
Jiva.
Om.
Hari Om.
Yes.
Jiva family.
Yes, the Jiva family. Hari Om.